is going to fund the heat, of course, because the Kenyan heat right now, it's insane. But if you tune in, it's even more mad. It's 14 minutes to the top of the hour. I'm having a very great conversation with two amazing, there's a gentleman and there's a lady, Josephine and Maurice. And we're talking about, the sustainability of traditional media and, of course, digital media. And this question on traditional media, I want to throw it to you, Mr. Maurice. The relationship between the government and media. Do you think there's freedom for the media in 2023 right now? What is your take on that?
That's a very good and important question, because mostly government and at least the perception is that government and media are like water and paraffin. Not only
we see some of those crazy faces on socials and you're like, oh, what?
Exactly. I do think in my own assessment and from what we've been observing is that it's fairly free in Kenya.
Yes.
And the reason why I'm using that word fairly free is that it's fairly free as compared to the region.
Yeah, true.
So the East Africa and the other parts where you can call out, you can keep government in check and nobody will be running you down.
Yeah.
I do think though that it's not yet watertight free in the sense that there's been you can be free to move around, but there might be some challenges in terms of like your financial freedom. How you financially free?
True. Yes. Apologies for that.
So I do think that's the thing to look at, the financial freedom of media and the government's role in that.
That's very important. Also, that's a very important question. Walk us through that. Yeah.
So for me, it's more about how. Let's use a very practical example. During COVID, where the government of the day at that time had promised bailout in so many industries, right? Not even once did I hear media being mentioned. Media is a very key partner during COVID, where
very essential, because now all our eyes are on TV, our ears on radio for updates and stuff. Yes.
So in that instance, it's almost like media was a necessary tool for us to survive and to remind people to wash their hands, but not necessarily enough to be paid for. And that for me was a sign that government needs to step up and see how to best support media and even moving because government is the largest advertiser. And as of now, as media is struggling, there's job cuts and also struggling in terms of changing content that relates to the audience and the quality and all that.
That's right.
From a financial standpoint, I do think that government has a responsibility to be able to sustain them as the largest advertiser. But when that is used as sometimes, I don't have data to back that, but when sometimes it's used as a carrot or a stick, then that becomes very dangerous. I do think, or I've heard that there's new ways of how government is looking to work with the media to be able to tap into the advertising budget of government. So for me, it's you might be free to move around, say whatever you have, but if you don't have money, you're not really free.
There's a big challenge,
and that's what has been done. It's not financial freedom.
There's no. The media is free. So we are free, true, but not financially.
Not financially.
Okay. Do you associate yourself, Josephine, with what he says, or do you also think that the government needs to step up, its game into financing, the media?
I totally agree with what Maurice has said, and in addition to that, I think what he was talking about, I forget the phrase he used, but there's also the place where, because you're technically the biggest financial person, there's also the bullying part of it, if I may call it that way, where you say what we tell you and how, like, you don't have
because we quote unquote are calling the shots,
exactly,
because we're giving you money.
So I think that's something that, I mean, in this day and age, if at all we are fully to experience that freedom, needs to totally end.
Absolutely.
Just to add on one quick one, there's the government to media relationship, but there's also, let's not also forget corporate to media relationship, where instances where stories, because I'm the largest advertiser for you and I'm holding you ransom because of I'm the largest advertiser financially. You can't publish something negative about me.
That's true. That's very true.
Those kind of stories also. So I think for media to be sustainable, for media to be able to face the day of light, the light of the day in the near future, it has to be sought out how it's financially sustainable, and that comes up with a couple of other things that needs to be put in place in terms of what you're talking about, distribution channels, in terms of, is the content curated for the current generation?
Yeah.
They're saying that Africa as a whole has the youngest population, and so many data gives you between 19 to 25. That age is consuming information differently, needs to monetize differently, care about different issues.
Yes.
You hear about Gen Z caring a lot about climate change, for example.
Right.
So how do we also change as that is changing? So that's why I'm very bullish about the idea that media is not dying.
Yes.
Media is changing.
It is changing.
And it's changing so fast. Yeah.
And we are adapting as well.
The adaptability of media is what I'm worried about. I don't think it's adapting as fast as it should be,
right,
compared to how the environment is changing. Just a quick.
There is progress, but it's slow progress.
Yeah, I mean, there's prevalence of a lot of social media platforms that have come up. Your TikToks and the rest, but. That has come up in the last, I don't know, during COVID. That's when it has boomed a lot.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
There's also social media influencers who are eating up the pie of media houses.
In your opinion, I digress for just a bit. In your opinion, do you think they're becoming a major challenge to the media, traditional media, the influencers and stuff?
I think they have brought the.
Are
fight
they
to
taking
their door.
over?
No, they're not taking over. They've just brought the fight to their door. And if I was within mainstream media, I need to think about how do I work with them. It's not about one or the other. It's more of how do we collaborate within this fast changing space.
Yeah.
And how do we work together? I think they've just brought the fight to their door and told them, guys, if you don't shape up, and you can see some corporates actually now moving away from media adverts, which is starting their own distribution channels.
Yes.
Some have just completely said we are going to use influencers to push our content, right? To the consumers. So it just means that media has to really introspect and say, okay, these guys have come in. How do we bring them on board? How do we work with them? It's not a fight.
So it's collaboration, not competition.
Perfect.
Absolutely. Because also and I like what Maurice was saying, that when corporates and people are moving to the influencers, it's because they know they have that personal touch with their community, which is what they lost. So that's what you want to connect with people on that personal level.
Right.
So I think instead of looking at them as competition, look at them as people who can amplify.
That's true.
Yeah.
Very important.
Yeah.
They can amplify. So now, Maurice, I want you to just scratch surface before we can delve into it about, African Media Festival. What is African Media Festival while you're at it? Also tell us, when is it happening? And I'm taking that some of those conversations we've had here are going to be spearheading the conversations in the African Media Festival. So in a nutshell, what is African Media Festival?
So African Media Festival came about because as Baraza, as a media development organization based out of Kenya, we noticed that COVID has happened, where media was much needed globally for distribution of information. But then immediately after COVID, the next thing that you're hearing is job cuts in the media space, which is a very weird dynamic. You're very needed, but at the same time we are firing people and and downsizing.
Right.
So for us, we sat down as a team and started thinking about how can that exist? How can we reimagine media with knowing what knowing that we are needed, but we also need to survive to be able to pay bills and to continue doing our work. So that's why the theme about African Media Festival is called Reimagine Media. We are reimagining a new media where there's all these things that are coming up. Technology is coming up, new talent, new forms of distribution.
Right.
There's a lot of in other parts of the world, there's a lot of aggression towards media.
That's true. Yes.
It might not be physical, but also when right now everyone knows what fake news is. Everyone knows what Githeri media is.
Exactly.
Like those kind of terms for me are not just about name calling. It's actually attacking and demeaning and reducing the legitimacy,
the value and legitimacy as well for the media. So
we have to reimagine, what does this look like for us to move forward? And there's no better time to reimagine media when you're on your knees. There's no low you can go. We're already at that point where we have to sit down and think as an industry. So the festival is going to happen next week.
Okay.
So we are your Valentine's date. We start on 14th.
I saw that. I was like, Valentine's Day it is.
So 14th and 15th at the Radisson Blu. The main thing for us, there'll be panels, but also there'll be a lot of town halls and roundtables, because we want it to be more less of a talk shop, because there's a number of times where I've gone to panels and have said some things that I leave immediately I've forgotten.
Yes.
So now we want to have this space as a place where we document a start of very revolutionary ways of how media media has to exist.
Right.
If you look at the people that we've invited, because it's African Media Festival, it's a Pan-African
Event.
conference and event.
Yes.
We have people from Nigeria, Mozambique, Comoros, South Africa,
Yes.
Ghana, just to name a few.
Yes.
But we also invited the entire media value chain, from government
to media owners,
to media players, to practitioners, journalists, writers, and all.
That's right.
And the way we view media is that media has changed. Media is no longer just the newsroom, broadcasting, print, and media has changed to social media influencers. Media has changed to writers, poets,
storytellers in general.
Yeah, exactly, storytellers. So we are having all these people within the space and basically discussing a lot of issues around, Web3.
Okay.
What is Web3? How is it going to change? How is it an opportunity?
Yes.
Discussing issues around mental health. We know during the time when we showed up for the world as media, we showed up for them. That's when we were listening to alternate sounds on YouTube, and listening to Zoom calls, and we changed the world, and held the world when it was on its knees.
Absolutely.
So it's for us to think about how can the world hold us when now we're in trouble. So
yeah, that's a date for the 14th.
Yes.
Now, for Josephine, you're an author, you're
Yes,
a
I am.
storyteller. African Media Festival is here. How's it going to be important to you?
Oh wow, I think it's such a great platform because not only do I get to network with people in the industry,
Okay.
I also get to meet leads from different, as Maurice has alluded to, different countries in the continent.
So it's a
to
connecting pool, yeah?
Yeah, to just find out what's happening, what's new, how do we need to rethink how we are telling our stories. And then for so long, the stories have been told in silos. So just coming together
Yes.
and now creating community so that then we can collaborate better.
Right.
Yeah.
That sounds very good. And of course, there's more to talk about the Kenya. Looking at their website right now, it's going to be 2 days.
yeah.
Yes.
40 plus speakers, there's 20 plus sessions. These are not, you're not just going to sit there and then people are going to talk. You're going to interact. I love the sound of that. And this is absolutely groundbreaking. So we're going to talk about this in the next hour. In just 2 minutes, we'll cross over to the next hour, accompanied by some reggae music. Maurice actually loves reggae music. He's been jamming to every song that is being playing here. So he's home, he's comfortable. We're going to find something really nice for Josephine. You're going to love it. But I told you we have a particular effect. It's called the Gaza King effect, yeah?
Man.
You will love it as soon as you're done. You will change your playlist. It's going to be a transformation.
I'm ready. I'm up for the
You
challenge.
ready?
I'm ready.
Gaza King, you ready? Give us the Gaza King effect.
Gaza King. DJ Gaza King.